So, Bona Nikona, good day, everybody. So, welcome to the very first episode of What's Your Flip? So, I'm Chris Mercado. I'm a long-time marketing professional working in different industries. And, well, there just a quick introduction of the web series. So, I came up with the name What's Your Flip just because it speaks a lot of things about what I'm doing right now. So, flip is obviously a slang for Filipino. So the show will be all about Filipino, um, whether musicians or entrepreneurs or anybody doing any business, uh, kahit anong Filipino. So that's one thing. Also, the word flip in terms of like the creative sense is the process of people discovering that they're creative, and then it eventually results in an endless process of creativity for that person. So that's basically the process of flipping somebody. Then of course you have the term of like flipping the script, which is a lot to do with what the series is all about. So meaning um, it's a collection of inspiring stories of how people are flip the script or in the process of flipping the script, especially in difficult times like we're in right now. So I hope everybody's doing okay despite the situation we're in right now. We know how hard COVID-19 is. Um, I'd like to introduce my first guest for the show. He's a longtime friend. I first started out to be a fan of Nick's band, Moonwlk. In fact, I'm wearing the shirt. Started out with that. Then I got them into playing gigs when I used to manage gigs in Club Dread in Eastwood, and then eventually also recorded a lot of stuff with my former bands and other projects, and we became friends ever since. Actually, a few days ago, there was an Instagram post that came out of me attending a Moonwlk gig like 5 years ago. So that's how long I've known Nick and his many other projects. So, hello Nick, how are you?
Yo, what's up, Chris? What's going on?
Cool.
Yeah,
Maybe
I'm
yeah.
surprised about that shirt. I didn't think that thing still survived.
Which one?
But yeah,
The shirt?
the shirt. But that's cool. It's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like keeping it for. Well, I try to wash it well, so I don't mix it with any other colors, and I'm just trying my best to keep it in one piece.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So maybe Nick, for the benefit of everybody else, because of course, I know you and a lot of people in the Philippine independent music scene know who you are, but maybe for everybody else, maybe you could introduce yourself, what you do, what are the bands you're in, what projects do you have right now?
Okay. Just just a general info on me. My name's Nick Lazaro. I'm a musician, of course, in the Philippines, a multi-musician. So I started out being in a band called Twin Lobster here in the Philippines. It's like a three-piece like indie rock band, but then we focus on being very technical with our riffs. And then I started a project in around 2011 called Moonwlk, and it was like I wanted to get more into like pop music and electronic stuff. So we were like a duo. We played electronic pop music, and I think a lot more people recognize that music. So that's when people started actually recognizing me as like a producer and an arranger. But all the while all this stuff was going on, I had, you know, I had my own, like personally run recording studio, and it's called La Balls Recording Studio. It's in Makati. And I during the time of being in Moonwlk and Twin Lobster, I also I recorded like up and coming bands. And then one thing that helped me get traction was my collaboration with BP Valenzuela. And through her, that's where I met O Flamingo and Ourselves the Elves, and then Carousel Casualties. And from then on, I started to meet more, like kind of more massa people such as Francesca Farr and uh, like Jules Savard, and then eventually like Moira de la Torre and then Mimia. So I think maybe aside from my bands, one thing that's kind of overshadowed about me is my production work too. So yeah, that's what I am doing mainly as like that's like my identity at the moment that people really know me as. So Nicholas Lazaro, the producer, music arranger, uh, Labal studio guy that typically works with the off kilter type of musician, but at the same time is able to mold the more massa artists into something actually a little bit more accessible to the more independent ear. So I guess you can say I'm kind of like the black sheep out of all the like I guess known producers in the Philippines and stuff like that.
Mm.
And it's pretty cool. I like that. I like being the weird one, so it's nice.
No, that's cool. At least it's something different, right? We're doing these sessions using the framework of Dr. Vijay Govindarajan, which is the three-box solution, wherein box one, you sustain the present, box two, you forget about the past, and box three, you create the future, and you balance these three boxes all together. So my first question, Nick, is basically, um, what are you doing right now, and how are you able to sustain your current work?
Okay, so fortunately, I was able to like build an entire recording, not just setup, but like an entire studio inside of my house. So I have like an isolated room for drums and vocals and guitars, and then it's separated from my control room, which has all my, like my mixer, all of my keys, things like that. So like what I'm able to do is basically arrange all of your music from the safety of being at our homes. Now, people may be asking, like, isn't that just basically arranging music, just purely arranging? What I'm trying to do is that since all the music is actually recorded, it's like real instruments, real drums, real guitars, real bass. Only thing that's synthesized is, if you want to have keys or synths or like, different samples, I can still arrange that. But essentially, the music is like full on studio recorded instruments. Um, so I'm basically allowing clients, uh, regardless if they are like an indie musician or even like a signed, like pop massa artist or whatever, I'm still providing them like the studio experience, but from the safety of their home. And yeah, being a multi-instrumentalist, like, me being able to actually play drums and guitar and bass and keys at a professional level is like that's like my advantage, uh, you know, above just these regular places that just record. Because like an engineer can make music sound good, but engineers don't necessarily also know how to actually make the music mismo. So like, yeah, that's the cool advantage of me being able to do all this stuff. Uh, and it's been able to keep me afloat for this whole time because not only do I have the more prominent artists, but then I also have a lot of clients who were musicians that were not able to experience that at all. Because also what I've done to be able to make myself accessible, I've like dramatically lowered my rates specifically for these musicians because I think one of the hardest hit groups of people during this time are like artists. And since they're not able to perform, or sell their music properly or be able to, even get out into the public, like physically. Um, like a lot of people don't have so much money to invest in music. So what was once very expensive to avail of a service like this for is now made very affordable. Just because as a musician myself, I sympathize as well too.
Yeah. Speaking of like DIY recordings, Nick, like obviously people can't just go to your studio and record. So like, how do you go about recording vocals at this point?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. So that's the one thing, since there's the lack of physical contact or physical, uh, what do you call it, presence in a studio. So um, I know that a lot of musicians that have, in fact, invested in nice vocal, uh, like nice quality vocal mics or interfaces and things like that. It's easy for me to be able to ask them, hey, please send me your stems, and then I can, clean them up here.
Mm.
However, to a lot of the new and upcoming musicians who don't have uh, the equipment, it's still accessible because I figured out a way to be able to tell them to use their smartphones. Because actually, what I found out is that like a lot of smartphones that were made after 2013, um, like they're like the magnetic capsules that are in there to capture recordings are actually quite, surprisingly nice.
Mhm.
And with my expertise on knowing how to, clean up audio and knowing what certain frequencies really need to be inside of a vocal recording, I can actually just tell them, hey, use your phone, go to a really quiet place, make sure there's no echo. If need be, put a blanket up to, to soak up all of that reverberation in your room and make it as dry as possible.
Yeah.
And just use your phone and send me those vocal tracks. And I will put them inside of the musical arrangement that I have recorded for you. And boom, you got your song. So so I guess the bare minimum to be able to work with me is to just have a smartphone. Doesn't even need to be like an iPhone. It can be like, I know that one person had like a Vivo or like a Huawei or like even like not like a like what not Cherry. I don't think a Cherry will work, but like it just has to be one of those smartphones,
Yeah.
uh, like it broadens the spectrum for accessibility for all the musicians. Yeah.
Nice, nice. So, correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, but from the context of doing DIY recordings, I mean, is it a myth or is it true that the best place to do recordings would be your bathroom?
Okay, if you were going to just go to your bathroom and knowing that, because bathrooms are meant to be, bare tile so that there's no places for fungus to grow,
Yeah,
you know, uh, like um let it be known that in a bathroom, sound waves are going to be jumping all over the place.
mm,
So people say, yeah, use a bathroom if you want to have a natural plate reverb sort of sound. Like imagine if you want like a sound like you're in a cave that's like very small, so it's kulob,
yeah,
and I can't really describe it. So for somebody who wants that sound
yeah,
and doesn't have the means to be able to create reverb, yes, it's usable. However, for nowadays we can, I can just put reverb using a plugin on a computer, and quite frankly, for somebody who is looking just for raw vocal tracks,
yeah.
having a guy record his vocals inside of a bathroom is like a nightmare for me to clean.
Mm,
So I would not recommend it if you're going to send it to somebody who would want to manipulate the sound,
mm,
because you can't manipulate, or you can't really clean up too much a sound that you want to get rid of. You can't, it's it's just a pain in the ass. So I would not recommend it in these times. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so we're on the topic of innovations or doing something new. So you mentioned a couple of things already, like for example, using your smartphone as like a vocal mic and stuff. But um, are you like right now thinking about how things are gonna be in the future, like, or how do you future proof your business? Of course, there might be certain things you can't share just because it's like trade secret, but maybe you could share with us like what are you doing right now to sort of create that future for La Balls or even for your other artists and bands.
Well, there's two things that I have to be able to, like, kind of foolproof the longevity of what I do for a living.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily like being, in my case, I'm not mega smart enough to invent like a piece of equipment or use a technique that will revolutionize whatever.
Mm.
But what I can tell you is very useful is being on top of my own skills, not only as a music arranger, producer, and engineer, but also being able to, like make my musicianship and my music, like my musical skills better too. Um, but then, like, okay, if you want to ask about being innovative and keeping it afloat, I think the one thing that really helped me is to be able to utilize, like, integrate all of my skills into like basically like a Voltes 5 robot of success. Uh, you know, so like being a seasoned musician and then having knowledge of technology for music, and then being able to uh, know your market,
Yeah.
and then also being able to know know the trends, but at the same time being able to know how to bend the trends. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I'm answering your question
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like like very efficiently, but all I can say is that it really it really takes a cooperation of all of your skills and all of your knowledge to be able to bounce around the obstacles of like being able to survive basically.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I also remember, Nick, that recently you put up your own independent label. I just forgot what it's called. But is that like also part of your efforts to sustain your business and to future?
um well, it's sorta, I mean, like, it's definitely not gonna make money, like, I'll be truthful about that. But like, the reason why I put up my independent label, so aside from me producing artists like for a living, I also have my passion project, which is producing the type of music I really want to do, like that I want to be representative of. Not to say that the stuff that I do make, isn't, like, I'm very proud of the stuff I do make for other artists, but like, everybody has their own preference.
Mm.
So it's kind of like my release, in terms of music. So okay, so let me just say it again. So I created an independent music label, and I called it Eclectic Kiss.
There you go. Yeah.
It's like, it's a play on a old Moonwlk song I made called "Your Electric Kiss is Late Always." But then I named it Eclectic Kiss because, number one, it sounds cool, and number two, the meaning is more like the music is so diverse and like just so colorful, but it's all brought into one thing. Um, although it being apart, although it being together, it is set apart from the usual kind of like, pop masa sort of stuff that you hear in the Philippines. At the moment, it is exclusively local Filipino talents that I work with. I'm not I'm not open to working with other foreign artists, but for the time being, because I like to say to people, Eclectic Kiss is like the alternative from the alternative, like, but then it's very palatable as well. So it's not like completely incoherent music, but it's something totally different than what you would want to hear. And I know that that sounds cliche from, like a lot of other labels. Yeah, we got something different. We got new stuff. But like, I mean, I I can assure you that you have not heard the type of music that I'm putting out with this label. And no, I'm not making money out of it, but I am trying to be representative of that sort of mindset about music in the Philippines. Like you can listen to stuff other than like, hugot stuff, or like, typical OPM stuff or like or like the type of stuff that's trendy, it's it's sincere music, but it's different. And I want to be representative of that. And it might help me in the long run because me being different from the pack as a producer has allowed me to work with a lot of musicians who were well established, but were also like hungry to do something different. And I want like basically everybody to know that, if you work with me, you'll do something different. It'll sound great, but it'll be different.
Cool, cool. Now we all know that because of the pandemic, this has really changed a lot of things for everybody. So whether it's the listener, guys who are producing music, and I mean, we can't even perform live music anymore, right? So like, are there certain things about what you used to do before, and even maybe the things that you're doing now that you think you should be forgetting or at least evolving for you to move on and innovate as an artist and even as a producer?
Uh, hmm. I guess writing about different issues, like, yeah, everybody's longing for love right now. I think maybe out of this pandemic, there's gonna be like a surge of different emotions, like from isolation to despair or joyfulness for the people who have been able to stay with their families. So like but like other things like what was the thing that you said again about the things that people should move on about? Okay, in terms of like live music and stuff like that, I mean it's a great idea that people are doing the whole like, oh, check me out on Zoom,
Mm-hmm.
but then I have a feeling, since there is no progress yet in the Philippines,
Yeah.
I think people should step it up a little bit more and like do a little bit more editing,
Mm-hmm.
like like uh give those like, give those live, not live, but give those like kind of pre-recorded things a little bit more production,
Mm-hmm.
rather than just like, okay, I'm one dude and I'm gonna like play an acoustic guitar in my Zoom mic.
Yeah.
Because it seems to work for like Ebe Denzel or like Rico Blanco or like Gary V, but it sort of like is a disadvantage for a lot of these people who are not very well, because it's like those people will go on Facebook Live and unfortunately will not be able to catch a lot of listeners. So uh I think production value has to kind of come up a little bit if they can.
Mm-hmm.
Um yeah, one thing that other things that to move on are like I think prods at the moment kind of have to look forward from just like being okay. Let's do a whole Zoom festival. Again, this is me telling them why not get like a nice little chunk of those amount of artists that they want to um, feature online and actually invest in actually giving some production quality to what you're gonna watch,
Mm.
because it's like okay, yeah, I'm gonna pay like $120 that will indeed go to like support some sort of either COVID related cause or like a humanitarian cause. But then at the same time, it's like then you're just watching. I understand it's very difficult. I understand it's very difficult, but I just think people would be willing to actually really sincerely pay for something that was given a little bit more thought, a little bit more production value. You know, especially because I don't think we'll be able to gig in real life or in person like for a pretty long time. You
Mm.
know, yeah.
Cool, cool. Anyway, Nick, just so that we could wrap things up, maybe is there anything you want to promote, like your studio? How can people contact you for any work they want to have done?
Yeah. Well, like they can always private message me on Facebook. My name is Nicholas Lazaro. Like Nicholas Nicholas. People always leave out the H for some reason. So I mean, you can just I'm like a public profile. I don't have anything to hide. So like but I also have, if you want to check out my Labal's page, I have an Instagram there, or or you can go to the Facebook, Labal's Recording Studio. Um, and if I'm gonna promote that, again, the way that it works is like, let's say you've just recorded a demo on your phone. You just recorded yourself playing guitar and singing. Um, like I am very fortunate to have the skill to basically listen to your demo and arrange it into a fully professional, like professionally arranged song or an arrangement. And you will have real drums, you'll have real recorded guitars and bass. If you want to have like a symphony orchestra in it, like I can do that for you, because I can arrange that. And it's promo price because not a lot of musicians have a lot of money at the moment. So um, what was once a ginormous amount of money to invest in for this type of service, you can get that at a fraction of a cost because I feel for all of you. So just hit me up either on my Facebook account or on Instagram. Instagram, I'm nickbon6969. Uh,
Up later, no.
um, yeah, yeah. So Instagram, nickbon6969, or you can check me out at uh, La Ball Studio. Just look it up on Facebook or Instagram. I also have like a Nick Lazaro page. It was like something that my cousin wanted to do. Hey, be more professional. It worked for a bit, but like it's weird. I mean, a lot more people would much rather message Nick Bone 6969. So you know, um, uh, and yeah, I'll promote my indie label too. Eclectic Kiss. Check it out. I have five very very super mega talented artists that I'm I manage the production of their music, and I also I curate them. So like you will basically be able to delve into the mind of Nicholas Lazaro by checking out my you know my indie label too.
Mm. All right, cool, Nick. You know what? Thank you so much for your time. I miss having those Japanese restaurant conversations with you. I hope to have that someday soon. Uh,
No, yeah, I mean, yeah, of course I miss them too. A lot of people would love to have, again, physical. appearances and stuff. But I mean, what's cool is that I was able to, this whole experience is kind of like, I really feel like you're here. So I've been able to be myself at least, you know?
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nick. I'll definitely see you soon, someday. Okay, see you around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So that's it, guys. That's the first episode of What's Your Flip. Do catch us again next week for another guest for us to discuss very inspiring and interesting stories about how people are going through this crisis and how they would go out of it. Okay, so until then, keep flipping. Bye.